Welcome to the Forbes podcast, a place where we talk about all things operations and marketing for your fitness business.
And where we bring on industry-leading guests to help you get the inside scoop.
I'm your host, Ash.
And I'm your co-host, Kira. And let's get into the episode of today.
Welcome back to today's podcast. I am so excited for today's episode. We have an extremely exciting guest on. She is the co-founder of an 8-figure tech company that she has recently exited. And she is also the founder of one of the leading advisory services in the fitness space, Jade Spooner.
Thank you for having me. Well done on the intro. It was a good debut for you to do the intro. No, thank you for having me. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm stoked for this episode. You know, I was so nervous to ask you.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, I can't ask Jade.
You know, this is not my first rodeo. I'm always happy to jump on a podcast. That's hilarious. No,
she was actually so nervous. She was putting it off. She was like, oh, okay, I'll message her. And I was like, what do you mean?
What do you mean?
I was like, just message her.
Imagine if you had messaged on her behalf, I would have been like, girl, we're way past that. And we've been dating for a few years now.
It was like, I literally speak to you nearly every day. Like,
I know.
Why am I so nervous?
And then she did it and she was like, oh, I don't know why I'm so nervous.
I know, that's so funny. Well, no, it's a pleasure to be here and thank you for having me.
Thank you. I'm really excited to get into your story because it's a really great one.
It's a big one, isn't it?
And I don't know that much about your story, to be honest. And then even when I asked Ash a question about something, she was like, wait, you don't know Jade Spooner? And I was like, no, not completely.
Well, buckle in.
I just forget that, like, it's our world.
Yeah. And also, I've been podcasting for a lot of years. I've been a guest on a lot of podcasts, but I don't make like a lot of content and things like that. So I guess if you haven't listened to podcasts and whatnot, it's not really like it's out there, just, to be accessible and whatnot. So I get that. You're forgiven.
Thank you. So let's jump into your story of starting in the fitness space.
Yeah. Okay. So starting in the fitness space for like a lot of people started with me as a client. So I've been on a diet since I was 10, like to be completely honest with you, and come from a long line of women that have watched their waistline. And I was always really influenced being, young. Every diet that was on the market, I had tried. Atkins, Biggest Loser shakes and whatnot. And then I actually ran into my co-founder of Equalution after school. And it was about a year after school and she'd lost a lot of weight. And I said, how did you do it? And she said, I've been clean eating and training. And she's like, come and train with me. So I started training with her, and religiously day in and day out, we just showed up for each other and for our goals. And I did lose a little bit of weight. It just wasn't sort of happening the same way it happened for her. And we sort of wanted to take it all to the next level and decided to do a bodybuilding show. So it would have been 2014, I think, maybe 2013. And we decided to do our first bodybuilding comp. So that was my first introduction into just the fitness industry in general. And this is like really—
Wow, what a start.
Yeah, this is really, really early days. This is like, I think we did the A and B Federation, and then we did WBFF when it came to Australia. I think we were the first Australian. We were in the first Australian show.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, you don't even know Jade Spooner.
I don't. To be honest with you, I think it's obviously really relative for your podcast. It's a lot of your listeners, but it's not really something that I wear with a badge of honor. I was fairly hopeless. I didn't place or anything, but for me, it was always the journey. Like I wasn't super competitive about it. I always used it. And I think this is the negative side of bodybuilding, is that some people do use it for a transformation as opposed to as a competitive sport. But it was really the only thing that got me doubling down on my diet and training. And it has you performing in another dimension. I feel the discipline that's required is a lifelong skill. And for my co-founder and I, that's what we wanted to execute our energy on at the time. So originally that's how I got started in the industry. The coach that we had at the time, she was based in Adelaide, and we got a really cookie cutter plan. It was I think it was about 850 calories, if I can remember correctly. And it was, I had no carbs because apparently I was carb irresponsive. So I had absolutely zilch carbs at all. My co-founder had like a cup of oats, and we basically just stepped on stage and we looked terrible. Like absolutely, like she was, I would say, skinny fat, and I just had more weight to lose. Like, and it was just sort of not an effective diet for us, nor method at all. And that's when we started looking for answers. So we found this coach, and at the time I'd heard that he was giving his clients ice cream and they were losing weight. So obviously I was like, sign me up. And he had done a master's in nutrition and dietetics and was just really credible, had a lot of amazing transformations. And it wasn't the type of transformation where it was like, you know, the girls were looking skinny. They were maintaining their muscle mass, and it was body composition changes. And he sat us down in our first consultation and taught us about calories in, calories out. He actually used the Twinkie diet study as the first example of calories in, calories out, obviously explaining that this is an extreme case study, but this is science in practice. And it was just like, for once, everything made sense. Like it just completely made sense. And we signed up with him and then really developed this love for creating macro-friendly meals. Like my co-founder is Lebanese, and some of her favorite Lebanese meals, she was trying to create macro-friendly versions. You know, I'm of a family that loves, you know, spaghetti bolognese. We're not Italian, but like spaghetti bolognese, lasagna, like just all those like hearty home meals.
Like spaghetti bolognese is a classic Aussie
it
dish.
is very
like
much
used to
so.
have in a family.
Yeah, 100%. So we just really loved, we used it like nutrition Tetris and just loved creating great meal plans and stuff that we loved. And then our coach at the time said, I can see that you girls have a love for this. If I give you the numbers and the clients and their preferences, will you create the meal plans? And then the three of us formed Equalution. So that's kind of how we started. We started working together with him. And at the time we were working full-time for Google, both of us. Everything we did together. We were just like yin and yang. And we ended up going to him and saying, we want to do this. Like we want to put our all into this and we can see the future. And at the time there was no app that did it. And we were using MyFitnessPal and it was completely riddled with flaws. And we were like, we want to create something that replaces this and does, you know, imagine if you could put your food preferences and your height, weight, activity level, and it spits out a meal plan. And then that was the dream. So our other co-founder at the time was like, I don't really want to do this full time. You girls take it. And we're still great friends with him to this day. And he said, my dream is to open a supplement store. And he did. His name's Jonathan Dixon, and the supplement store is Booty and Buff Nutrition, and it's in Caringbah in the Southern Shire. So he went off and did that and said, you girls, like, go be free, take this dream wherever you want to go with it. And we did. And we quit our full-time jobs at Google and we took a one-way ticket to Silicon Valley because we heard that was the tech hub of the world and we wanted to figure out how to build this app. So that was sort of like the first move.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. So it really all did start from bodybuilding, to be completely honest. Yeah.
What drew you towards building an app? I feel like you were so far ahead of the game.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's obviously, you know, something that is a lot more accessible these days. You know, if you want to build an app, you could have a few conversations, you can look into a few agencies. But at the time, it was actually like taboo. Like no one was talking about it in this country. And I think for us, it was, I don't know, it was just this way of thinking, you know, even if we did grow for every X amount of clients, we'd have to put on X amount of coaches. And it was actually taking us so long to do a meal plan. And we're just sort of thinking ahead of, we thought it was going to be the next big thing. We actually felt that like in our guts from day dot. And we were always just planning ahead as if that moment was going to happen. And I guess it did in a big way. But that was where our minds were at. It was sort of looking at the scalability and even customer experience. Like we were the customer. We hated MyFitnessPal, you know, an egg, 40 calories with 2 grams of protein, like incorrect entry. And it was just, there was so many things that were wrong with that. Yet it was a tool that we were relying on every single day as part of something that we felt really passionate about, you know? So it was always, the app was always the next thing. But it didn't happen straight away.
How long did it take for you to launch an app?
About 4 years. And it wasn't because we were working on it for 4 years. It was that we had failed a couple of times. We went to, we basically went over to Silicon Valley, and we were fairly useless over there. But the one thing that we did do that was very worthwhile was we went to this conference, and it was called the Startup Grind. And at that time, the people that we heard from on that particular day, you'd never really get them in one room again. Like, it was the founder of Uber, Lyft, Twitter, ClassPass. It was just like amazing technical founders that are worth a fortune now. And we basically heard from these guys, and a lot of them started in accelerator programs, they were called. So basically you sign up for this program, you pitch your ideas, some of them give you capital investment, and then they sort of mentor you to getting to your end goal product, etc. Go to
kind of
market.
like Shark Tank vibes.
Very much so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So we ended up, we ran out of money, and we thought, oh shit, we've got to come home. So we came home, and we enrolled ourselves in an accelerator program. It was called Incubate, and I think it still exists to this day. It was at Sydney University. So we enrolled in that, and we found some uni students who said that they could build the app, and I think we paid $10,000, and it obviously failed. But then we met another mentor who said, I can actually manage an offshore development team and recommend you to them. And I think we paid a couple of $100,000 at that point. And we were building our client base up as well. We started building through just doing transformations for free, like friends, family, anyone like that would listen. We said, we'll do it for free if you document your journey and give us your before and afters. So we were naturally and progressively growing at that time on Facebook anyway. But we just were working on our revenue to be able to afford this app. So the second version was a bit over 200,000, and that failed. And we were I think we were 22, 23, 24 at the time. We just signed on the dotted line. They had no liabilities or anything. They had no obligation to get this right. And the onus was on us, basically. So this app just didn't work. And then we'd found the developer that did get it right. And that was around year 4. But by that time, we were already quite large. And there was a lot of, from website to creating our own payment gateway and being able to take payments and automate things. There was a lot of work that we did even before getting to the app that we worked on with him first to improve the current business before investing in, I guess, a new business model.
Wow, that's so much skin in the game before you got to the end result.
Yeah. There was a lot. But the great thing was, it was like by the time we had got to, building the app, there was already a community there, and they loved what we were doing even manually. Like, people got PDFs sent in Facebook chats and still loved it, and there wasn't, there's a lot of coaches these days, but at that time there was not a lot of people that were doing things as we were doing them. And with the level of support, and even flexible dieting was still fairly new at that point. So people were still so shocked that they could eat foods that they loved and lose weight. So it was also it was very good timing, I think, too. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing Mitch Orville post about it, and that was my introduction to Equalution.
It's funny, Mitch is still one of my friends to these days. Yeah, I actually spoke to him yesterday over the phone. So we still chat about business and whatnot, and I'm always grateful. Like, there was a couple of people that just really took us off. Like, Sky Wheatley was our first influencer, Chloe Zepp, Mitch Orville. There was sort of a group of beauty influencers, Sarah Ashcroft over in the UK. There were just a lot of big influencers at the time, just wanted to do the program. There was no sort of paid posts or, us hounding people or anything like that. There was a lot of organic, I'd love to try it and share my journey. And yeah, Mitch Orville was one of them, very loyal to the brand.
Yeah, I just remember him posting it, and that was how I found you originally.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, what does Equalution mean?
Oh, God. I actually came up with the name in a spin class, and it was supposed to be equal, as in balance, and like a revolution. yeah, so that's
I was trying to like guess in my brain and I was like equal to the solution. I was like,
yeah, no, it was supposed to be, equal as in the balance component, and then like the whole revolution. And our first logo, so it's iterated, there's been a few iterations, but the first logo was like a triangle with like two equal signs on top of it. It kind of looks like something Illuminati.
Illuminati vibes.
And that sort of throws me now. And then the second one was like a circle with a 20% cutout. But then everyone's like, that looks like Pac-Man. And we're like, you're so right.
Oh.
And then the third one was a donut with like a bite out of it, which I kind of love still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with Equalution, how many staff did you have before the app became a thing?
It was still a lot. I think it was like 20 perhaps.
Wow.
Yeah. I think 20
Yeah.
roughly. And everyone was quite young and it was really fun. It was fun times, to be honest with you. I do a lot of things differently now. Jesus, we went, I remember we had a really great 8-week challenge. We said, what do you girls want to do? And they were like, we want a table at the island. We're like, off to the island we go. Like we drank, we went clubbing, all the things. Obviously I would do things, as I said, a lot differently now, but such a fun time. And I'm still friends with a lot of girls that used to work for us back then who even say now, like, I just will never forget those days. They were just the best days. It was a lot to do with, just being young and carefree, and, we always gave back. We were super generous. Like our success was very much shared. And we just had a lot of good times, a lot of memories. It's like giving to girls that, are kind of self-made money as well. We did outrageous things like yachts and things like that as well. So there's some things I look back and I'm like, God, I'm glad they got that out of the way, but
got it out of the
But there was a
system,
lot
but-
of good memories. Yeah,
Love that.
Yeah,
When you ticked over on 8 figures,
Yeah.
how old were you?
Just really young. But like the thing is, I mean, I think it's something that I'm proud of in terms of like the value of the company and what it got to. And obviously I didn't come from money, so to me I'm proud, right? I'm not discrediting it at all, but like we had a lot of expenses. We were highly profitable from day dot. I think from the very, very start, even with the investments that we were making. But it's not like it's just sitting there in your bank, I think the valuation and whatnot is, I think one week we were super young, just moved out together. Well, I'd moved out into the city when we'd started the business, and then we moved in together because we thought, we work together and all that kind of stuff. And it was really, really good. We did that for a couple of years. And I think I was maybe 25 and we did our first 50K week. And I remember that was like really crazy. I was like, oh my God, like what the hell has happened? How did this happen? But we did start making money really young. And there's a lot of lessons that I've learned from that as well.
Yeah, I was going to say that would be a big responsibility, like a big weight.
Yeah, and
shoulders.
I did feel that weight. I remember when we had outgrown maybe 3 or 4 office spaces. And then when we moved into the last one that I was in before exiting, I just remember at that point, our outgoings were like around 50K a week. And I just remember thinking like, it's actually a lot of pressure to wake up on a Monday and realize that's what your weeks look like now. I think that was probably the first time that I'd started thinking in that way from a responsibility perspective, because on the growth trajectory, I think it's very easy to be distracted. But if you stop and think, and I think that's part parcel with entrepreneurship, like you don't get into that space because it's super safe. There's a lot of risk. And I think it comes with the territory. But there were definitely moments where I was like, geez,
Yeah, this is a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. It is a lot. And it's a lot for young people as well. I carried a lot of weight. Like I just felt like youth had just passed me by. Not to say that I was old by any means, but I remember by the time and this was approaching the exit, I got to 29. I just thought, where did the 20s go? And this is all a lot, and there's opportunity cost with every choice you make. There's an opportunity cost, and I felt like I'd missed out on a lot. I'd gained a lot as a young person and experiences and perspective that a lot of young people don't get the opportunity to experience. For that, I'm grateful, but I did. It came at a cost.
Do you think you entered the fitness space at the right time?
Yeah, 100%.
When you were coming up with Equalution, was Move With Us, Sweat, were they coming up? Were you before?
No, Sweat, not Move With Us.
Yeah.
Sweat was always a company that we looked up to, always. So I don't know if they had an app just yet or if they were still
BBG.
the BBG. Yeah, I'm not sure.
So I don't think the Sweat app has been around like that long.
No, I think that in the app space, a lot of the companies that we were looking at were in the States, like we were so intrigued by Uber to the point where we actually got the company that designed their UI UX to do the Equalution rebrand on the app. Like we were so obsessed with a lot of software and technology that was happening over in the US, like wearables and, things like that and where things were going. But yeah, not a lot of our inspo was coming from Australia. And to be honest with you, how like in today's day and age, a lot of coaches are looking at each other. We weren't looking at anyone. So I don't know if that's like a blessing or if it's a curse, because I do think competitor awareness is super important, but don't remember being threatened or looking at anyone at all.
Do you think Australia is behind with tech innovation?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We catch on years after America. Like Mark Zuckerberg was planning AI integrations and things like that 10 years ago. And like people are saying now, like, oh, you're using ChatGPT for day-to-day tasks and stuff. It's like this was happening over in the States decades and moons ago.
Wow.
So we are really, really behind, which I think is for anyone that's a risk taker or innovative, I think it's like a competitive advantage. We also, something that I always encourage, and you would know being a client and whatnot, I always encourage my clients, like it might not be where you are now, but think big. Like if, there was no limitations, like where do you want to go in terms of goals and ambitions, and really how could you take what you're doing today as like a proof of concept and turn it into something? I think that's the thing that we lack in Australia a little bit too, is just that thinking big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that's why because all the training apps are American, do you think that's why Australian market struggles?
Yeah, definitely. It's hard and it's really expensive. So I think that's the other thing too. Like obviously going down that route myself, like to have just like, a couple of $100,000 in cash just lying around to throw into something, it's not the norm, right? So as much as like, it's easy for me to say, take risks, think big. There's also limitations in doing that. And it's not the easiest thing, but I think, there's also other avenues, whether it be investment or whether it be capital raising, and, having already had a proof of concept. So it's from an investment perspective, it's like, there's a lot of things that have been bulletproofed, government grants, like things like that. I think there's always, when there's a will, there's a way, I feel.
When do you think a coach should look at making an app?
I think when the off-the-shelf solutions are just providing way too much limitation and inhibiting the client experience to the point where it's becoming a day-to-day hassle. So investment into an app is an investment, not just to say, oh, we've got our own. Like I think the ego side of things, and I've seen this a lot, like, we want our own. We don't want to use where like, it's like, okay, let's think from a, logical and financial and commercial perspective here. Like what's the real reason? So I think when it becomes a bugger in the day-to-day, and then second to that, also when you're sizable enough where you can almost capitalize on having your own thing, because it creates a better customer experience and appeal from the outside looking in. Like, to be able to have the means to go back into the app and say, we've just added this feature, because it's expensive to have an app. You need full-time developers and you know, you need to be bug aware and all that kind of stuff. It's a whole other team. So when you can support that team and use it to your marketing advantage, I think that's also another time to look into an app.
With coaches and scaling as an online coach, a lot of people really struggle with it because there's either a mass route or there's hiring coaches. Where do you lean?
Oh, look, every business is different, and I have successful clients. I think the type of online coach that I work with today is usually are the ones that are high performers, right? They're doing really, really well. I would say probably making over $750 a year. I would say that's my typical online coach. And the big guys they're all doing different things. They're just doing what is good for them. My personal preference and where I think the market is lacking is I think that one-to-many fails often to meet the needs from a support perspective of the client. And I get that means more cost to service because obviously you're putting on more coaches to be able to support clients. But I look back at what made me successful, our business successful, and my co-founder and I were the first two coaches in our business, and we gave everything to the support side of things, and that's probably why our clients got such good results, you know. And it was at a time where we were small enough that we could remember that they told us the week before that they were going to an engagement party, and we could say, how was your engagement party? But people will never dispute good customer service, and I think one-to-many can lack that, whereas hiring coaches and having your own person on your journey is an opportunity to be able to create that human-to-human relationship, which is great for retention, great for lifetime value. So I sort of lean towards that side, but it's not to say that you can't be successful if you're one-to-many coach.
That was Equalution's model, wasn't it? Everyone was assigned a coach.
Yeah, it was at the beginning, and then the app became so good and useful that even when people couldn't financially keep up having their own coach, they said, can we just stay on and use the app? And then that's basically how the business has evolved, and now it's essentially app only.
That's wild.
Yeah. So that in itself, that transition is I was around for that transition, and that was probably one of the most anxious changes that were made, because you essentially cannibalize premium with the low ticket, but it's what everyone is asking for. But there's a period of time where you lose your premium to low ticket and you don't have enough low ticket to meet what premium was making on a week-to-week basis. So it's a bit of a scary change. Yeah,
it's really scary, and I feel like retention is so bad with lower ticket services. It's horrible.
Do you know why? This is a big generalization, and I feel like it's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of coaches. People are just not working like they used to. I really believe that. I think that people are trying to cut corners, do things quicker, make money in their sleep, kind of not really doing too much. And at the end of the day, coaching is service-based. It is a service-based business. So it's like, you know, to not give your client the time of day because you, one, don't have the resources, or two, you don't have the care, it only impacts the customer experience, I feel. So I think that's the thing that coaches could capitalize on these days, is doubling down on the treatment and the support that they're giving their clients outside of what they think they're paying for, you know, like, under promise, over deliver. I think that's classic.
Yeah. Do you think that like passive income is great to have, but it's been like, it's being pushed too hard, that like people just want to make passive income and don't do any work?
100%.
Yeah.
Like, I have a service, as you know, like I'm a business advisor, and it's basically, I invest in technology. In software is my home run business model. Like, I think a subscription model is a great business, and I think there's a lot of opportunity for online coaches to have subscription model businesses. It basically is that, you know. So, but in my service, that's not a compromise that I'm willing to make. You know, I could do group coaching, but this is what I do well and love, and then I make, you know, investments elsewhere that that work like a bit more of an engine. But I don't want to be that engine just because I think it compromises my service. And I want to be there. I want to be there for every knock on the door, you know, from my clients, because I think it's important.
Do you find that you do see a lot of coaches in the industry, the ones who don't stick it out long term aren't in it to support clients, and it's more so because they see it as like a way to make money?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a very clear distinction these days for love or money. Like I think it's so obvious, but I think what a lot of coaches don't understand is when you do it out of love, the money does come. You know, I know you guys had Ashlane on here, and she's one of my clients, and she's exceptional at what I even have goosebumps even talking about it. She's exceptional, and she's a fantastic coach and a fantastic person and has a fantastic business, right? And she is a great example of low ticket, and that's to their values as well. They believe that coaching should be accessible. So that's a really great example of when it works really well. But that woman is absolutely, and husband, they're absolutely killing it. And you can find her in her community groups day in, day out, almost every hour, because that she loves it. And she's not too big for her boots. Like she treats her job the same way that she treated it when she had, you know, couple of hundred clients, and she's got now thousands of clients. So it's like, I think when people do things out of love, it does attract. It's like an energy thing. It attracts, and people do come. You can make money and love it also at the same time.
Yeah.
I think
There's too much emphasis on quick money.
Yeah, definitely.
So I have a couple of questions around the industry, because I want to get your viewpoint, because I definitely see you see the whole industry where we're stuck in it.
Yep.
Working with everyone. So I want to know, do you think there's ever going to be a company like Move With Us, Equalution, or EBT again?
Yeah, I think there's going to be perhaps I think of this. And I think there has to be a next generation, you know. I look at some of the influencers these days. I think a really great example, Hannah Pearson.
Yep.
You know, she's super fit, puts really healthy, good content out there, but she's not someone that I consume content from. I'm the Rachel Dillon era. So I feel like there is a transition of who, you know, is going to be in the limelight, spotlight and whatnot. And whether they have coaching businesses or whatnot, I think it totally depends on the person.
And she just launched her app recently.
Actually, yes. And another, I think a girlfriend of hers, like in the same sort of influencer circle, I think also maybe did an app or whatnot.
I don't know that. But
yeah,
I
the
recently
Glute Girls, like,
yeah.
And it's, you know, it's healthy content. I think like everyone always has something to say about influencers, but I think if they're out there showing, you know, training right and eating well, I think that's way more than our generation had, you know. Like I think it's like it's a that's good influence in my mind. So yeah, I do think that there will be other companies I'd love to see. I don't have the answer for this, but I remember back in the day we had 2 offers. We had macros only, so just get your numbers, or we had meal plan only and it didn't have your numbers on it. And then we started to have, this is how ancient my business is from when it started. Then we started to have people putting their meal plan into MyFitnessPal and swapping things around themselves. And then we had other groups of people who were saying, can I have my numbers as well so I could follow the meal plan, or self-track and choose my own food. And that's when macros and meal plans was created. But now, like, it's everyone does macros and meal plans. I'm not saying like I pioneered it, but I do feel like to a degree we sort of did. But I'd love to see someone do something different now.
Yeah.
Like what can we do from like a customer perspective that shakes shit up and is indifferent from everyone else, you know?
I was just about to ask, what do you think the app will need to do?
I think it's, look, like I said, I don't have the answers, and I feel like my passion is not in that. Like I'm not honed in from a coach mind.
Yeah.
I think if I was, I'd be a little bit different. But I don't know if it's like some sort of gamification, or if it's some sort of like membership that incorporates in-person events. And then also, I'm not sure like what the answer is. I'm sure people, if they're really passionate, can get super creative about this. But I always think someone think outside the box.
Yeah.
So if anybody has an idea,
surprise me, do something different, But yeah, it would be great to see coaches not look like other coaches, and instead, I actually had this conversation with a client this morning on our coaching call, because she is starting to create content, has a fantastic business. She's what I describe as in between a coach and a doctor. So she's a clinical nutritionist. They utilize blood work. It's not just height, weight, sedentary. It's proper looking at your data and creating a data-driven plan off the back of that. And it's actually opened me up to Jesus, like it's not as simple as calories in, calories out, which is like a message that I preached for years and years. So that level of education has been really eye-opening for me. But, for me, I was saying to her, don't fall into this. She'd created some content. She said, it doesn't really feel like me. I said, because it's not. Don't fall into that trap of looking like every other online coach out there, because you're actually fundamentally different. You're hugely different. Like you are the next step before someone goes and sees a specialist or a doctor or whatnot. Play that card to your advantage. So yeah, I think differentiation is really important from a coaching perspective. What do you do that's different from the coach down the road?
I think it's hard to be different with so many out there these days.
Yeah, I think it is. And I think the big guys have made it intimidating to be different, because I think the results and the numbers and the lifestyle that they're promoting with their success has set an expectation that it's made people quite fearful to be different and to stand out from the crowd. I think there's almost like a reluctance, because it's like, well, it's not what he does and he's done so well, and I think it has set things in concrete, so people would rather follow than take a risk, look different, be different, and maybe even have the same result. Like that, that's what I think anyway.
Yeah, it's very science, like formula.
Yeah.
This is the formula and that's it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
With marketing in the online space, I know that we have a lot of conversations around it. What do you think people are doing that's not working, but you just never see leave?
I think the same content, the same content. And you see it in the engagement. You see that there's not a lot of people viewing it. It's because they've just viewed it half a dozen times on their news feed, but coaches are still creating the same content as each other. Yeah. And
do you know, that's kind of why this is probably an unpopular opinion, but I don't rate being on TikTok that much, because for a week you see the same video and everybody doing the same video, and I'm like, and I leave it.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's kind of similar to that. It's like, yeah, if I've seen a coach do something and then it like pops out and it's like copy paste.
And you know what? It's like content is a tool. So it's like take the tool and
make it your own.
Yeah, put your own spin in it. But I would say that. And just the same, like, the same offers, the same campaigns. Like I think same is probably the thing that we don't want to keep seeing. I think learning how to take what's working, even for someone else, as like a ticket of inspiration, and then doing something different with it, I think is important. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to touch on Equalution's growth before we move into We Trained.
Yes.
Really excited.
Yeah.
But Equalution was a faceless brand, and you've spoken about this before. How did you grow it, and do you think it's possible to build a faceless brand in this day and age?
Yeah, definitely, because I think it then puts not the pressure, but I think it puts the spotlight on the community, and that's what we were. We were a customer-centric brand, so it wasn't, it started as our stories and then it became about the clients. And to be honest with you, we wouldn't have expected a, postpartum mum to look at our combined 50 kilo weight loss journey, which was highs, lows, bodybuilding, yo-yo dieting, etc., and feel she related to us. She was on her own journey. However, if there was another postpartum mum that was able to sustain this while breastfeeding, then she gets that spark of hope, that looks like me. So we were customer centric and everything was about the client's journey. And then we were really early to the party with employee generated content as well.
Mhm.
So each of our employees had their own online presence, team accounts, and they also were little ambassadors as well. So we were really ambassador focused, customer focused, and team focused.
That's great. I
Yeah.
found like an Equalution team account the other
There's
day
so
when I was
many,
looking
yeah.
it up.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had no idea that you guys did that.
Yeah, no, we did.
Yeah.
I think my sister got the highest. I think she was on about 10K or something like that.
Wow.
At one point.
It's
So
just all food.
yeah, it was just
Yeah.
all recipes. Everyone had their own thing. Like we used to do like training and whatnot on that. It's like find your jam, like what you're good at.
Mhm.
So some people had a knack for recipes. My sister had a knack for recipes, for example. And then there were other sort of, there were more educated girls in terms of, dietitians, nutritionists and whatnot.
Mhm.
And they would share more science-based things. And then there were some people who just didn't really like social media and they just did the bare minimum, of what we had asked everyone, which was maybe show up once or twice a week or something along those lines. And that's fine too.
Yeah.
Like everyone has their strengths. But that was definitely something we paid attention to. And everyone got commission too.
It's great.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's so hard being a brand these days because people want you.
Yeah.
And that's really difficult.
Yeah.
As an introvert.
Yeah, I think so too.
Mm.
I think, today it's a little bit trickier to be, I guess, faceless, but then you've got to kind of pick your poison. For example, I'm not someone that wants to be a face behind my brands because it just doesn't really feel as aligned to me as what creating a great product does. But I would feel really confident creating a really fantastic product and then similar to the Equalution journey, putting a community behind supporting that really fantastic product. But you can't really have no face and a shitty product because then what are the people connecting with,
Yeah.
But even, some products out there that are, amazing and people are loving, they're relying on the fact that it's a great product from a marketing perspective and it can therefore afford to be faceless, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really difficult one.
It's a bit different with coaches, I think. People are, it depends on whether it's a brand as in if they've got other coaches or it's, coached by someone, in which case I think there's an obligation at that point to introduce yourself online before someone goes with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I want to talk about We Trained.
Yes.
I'm so excited.
I'm not. It's just been like so difficult, hurdle after hurdle, but it's been like a vision of mine since I had left Equalution really. And that was a big part of, the exit process was I was in that business and I started getting wandering eyes and this was during COVID and I was like thinking about starting another platform and it was sort of like cheating in a way. I'm like, if you're looking elsewhere, is your heart still here? So it's been like quite pivotal in my journey as well.
Do you want to explain what it is?
Yeah. So We Trained is a business management solution for online coaches. It basically is, I would say, a competitor to Trainerize, Everfit, Kahunas, etc. But whereas those off-the-shelf solutions are not targeting the Australian market, I'm very interested and only interested at this point in time in the Australian coach. So, people can kind of.
Which is not at the forefront of other training apps' minds.
They're not thinking about the Aussies, are they?
No,
It's
no one's
crazy.
thinking about us on our little island.
No.
It's crazy how different it is. We get on calls with apps and they're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I know it's huge different. Like from, metrics to food culture to even the service. Like I feel like Australian coaches have their way of doing things. And that's, I guess, who I'm interested in targeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how is it different to the other apps on the market? How's it going to be different?
I think the biggest thing, without giving too much away, is in the nutrition side of things. So I think that's probably the fundamental difference.
Which is also quite a big gap in the
Yes.
training
Yeah.
platforms that coaches have accessible to them, because I feel like they always want to fix the training side of things.
Yeah.
And then nutrition is always an add-on, where I feel like yours is like going in the opposite way.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I've just made quite a big decision, as you know, to bring the development in-house. So I was externally engaging with a development agency, and I've recently hired in-house just to speed up the process and also have full control of the development process. And I, in conjunction with that decision, have decided to release a version of it first, just to get there quicker. That does only one thing super, super well, and then listening to the community as to what comes next. So I've kind of really changed from where it was to where it's going really quickly.
Do you have a timeline on it now?
Yes, roughly. I want to be out with the first version by about August.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
it's
thinking.
actually so soon in the
It
scheme of
feels
things.
like kind of far. Well, the development agency, they added a lot of time on, but they originally told me end of financial year, and then they told me at the start of this year, and then I'm like, screw you all, I'm taking this in-house and I'm going to control when it goes out. So that's really been like my latest revolution, which, to be honest with you, as you know, now that I've done this, I'm like, damn, I should have done this sooner. But I guess this is all part of the journey. You learn as you go, you know? So yeah, it makes a lot of sense, the recent movements.
I'm excited to get our hands on it.
Yeah.
Because we'll
I'm so
definitely
excited.
get our hands on it.
I know. I'm excited too. I think you're going to really I think the first version is going to be so simple. It will have so many missing, in the grand scheme of things, pieces, but I almost just want to nail this one thing.
Yeah.
Because this one thing is my point of difference.
Do you know though, like, I just feel like nailing the simple things isn't simple for people to get.
Well, it's not simple to build either.
Yes.
So in the back end of this version, there's like algorithms and things that still make me nervous. So it's like it is not simple. But I've never given up on the thought of, you know, maybe this isn't, I've never had entertained thoughts like maybe this isn't for me, or maybe I don't want to do this again, or like I've got this going on and that going on, this, like why add that? It's just never left me. And I just feel like I'm the right person to do it.
Yeah, I love that.
I agree. There's so many training apps coming out.
Yeah.
But none of them are Australian.
No.
No one gets our market.
And everyone, the thing that when this does come out, you'll be like, it's so easy. Like, why didn't no one think of that? I know that there's a few on the horizon, and I'm competitor aware. I haven't heard anything about anything that I'm doing. So people are like, oh, have you heard of this app? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
It just doesn't really faze me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
What do you think about how coaches be like, oh, can't they just add this into my app, like into the app? Surely that's easy.
I know. It's, you know what? I get the logic because it might seem that way, but it's just not. It's just not, and it's not cheap either. So
Yeah.
it's like one person. I think that the really hard thing with managing software with a community and users and subscribers and whatnot is that if you've got 10 people asking for one thing and then 2 people asking for another, unfortunately you have to opt for where the demand is. And there's always opportunity costs. So it's like you invest here and you lose out here, and you just sort of have to come to grips with the fact that you can't keep everyone happy. And I guess that's just general in business as well. It's not going to be for everyone, but just please the people that you're fit for and that, you know, you've got proof of concept with, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
We unfortunately have to wrap it up.
Oh, did we? When we were talking about an hour, I'm like, we were only hit an hour. Did we really?
Well, yeah, we're almost at 50 minutes.
Oh my God.
But we do
Yeah,
ask a question
go so
that-
speedy.
for everyone that comes on the podcast.
Yep.
Where in your life are you making moves at the moment? And it doesn't need to be just business.
Well, my love life. You only have to go on my Instagram to know that I'm a hopeless romantic and like just so in love with my husband. Property. That's really the thing that I have bought 3 in the last 3 months. So
Oh my goodness.
yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
amazing.
Yes, thank you. I just have this like hunger to be just this crazy property tycoon.
I love
So-
that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
How do you
sick.
manage so many things at once?
Well,
I wanted to say something really sad. It'd be like Dexies, but
literally ADHD just boxed up. How I love it.
Yeah.
You know, I love it. This is what I asked for. I was stuck in one place, a great place. Equalution, my time there was a great time. But then I became stuck in this one thing. And I see my life had I stayed in just one place, and it just is not fulfilling for me. And right now, to have challenges and to have a few things going, admittedly, it comes at a cost. Like We Trained, for example, would probably be out now if I just doubled down on that one thing. But to have, you know, an investment portfolio of companies that are and growth startups that I'm like so proud of and so enthused to support, and then, you know, be excited by property and then be building something, it's just, that's the way I like it, you know?
do you love just like learning about all different areas of life as well?
I learn every day. I learn every day. And I think that's been a really exciting post-exit experience, because I think when I was in Equalution, I was obviously really young, but I probably was on a bit of my high horse and thought that I had all the answers, but I was just getting started and I didn't even realize. So I think learning every day is a blessing. Like, I feel grateful for it. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, give
Thank
yourself
you.
a little plug for the podcast. Where can people find you?
What is my Instagram handle is Jade Spooner, and my website is spoonerventuresandadvisory.com.
Beautiful.
I'm like, where am I? What,
Yeah.
what are my things? What are my things?
I feel like we ask people what their Instagram handle is. They're like, oh my God,
I'm like,
I don't know.
no, because I was thinking, did I change it when I got married? But I haven't legally changed my name yet, but I'm not going to change my Instagram handle. It's just too complex. But yeah, if you ever have any questions, I love giving away my time for free. And I honestly, DM me on Instagram. I'll voice note you back. And I'm just happy to chat and help where I can.
Oh,
Thank you so much for coming on. And
Thank you.
I'm sure people have learnt a lot